Hello, everyone. My name is Alina. I'm a founder of a project called Verb, etc. And today I'm here with Anita, who is my friend and also co-founder of the company LiveFlow, who is YC alumni. And she has a really incredible career story. I just couldn't help to share it with you. And we were just laughing before the interview, trying to remember when was the first time we met each other. Turned out it was 2012 or something, but I just want to start with Anita introducing herself and telling her story. And so Anita, in a couple of words, tell us about yourself.
Yeah, hi. Very nice to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm Anita. Originally, I'm from Russia. Maybe you could hear it from my accent. That's how I met Alina, back in the days, whilst we were participating in some scholarship program in 2012, I think. We were having projects and it was a good vibe just to meet each other on some ship. that was fun. Since then, I traveled the world, met Alina in various places like New York and London. And I think we always talked about just being somewhere in London or New York or the US in general. And then eventually I relocated from Russia to London, started to work for Revolut, and then decided to co-found my own company, which is called LiveFlow.
Okay, well, it's like a very, very, very high level, but in the meantime, there were a lot of cool milestones that I also want you to tell our audience. So let's start with the point. Let's maybe actually start with this scholarship thing, because it was not just a scholarship, it was a scholarship for like A students, top universities in Russia and so on. But tell us about where did you study, where did you work afterwards, and how did you eventually move to London? Because that part is also very important.
Yeah, so I was brought up in a small city of Belgrade, which is, I think, 350,000 people, located 700 kilometers to the southwest from Moscow. So I was brought up there. It's like not even a city, it's a town. But I always had this passion to explore things and to move forward. So when I turned 18, right on my birthday, I relocated to Moscow. And I studied at People's Friendship University of Russia. So that's the most international university in the country. And I was exposed to international cultures, and that was pretty much amazing to meet all of these people. So while studying there, I decided to participate in the scholarship program, which is something that exists like till now. And I think what was amazing about that program, that it kind of gathered people from all over the country in one place, just to team up and collaborate and build various projects. And I just somehow decided to participate, won the scholarship. Then I was invited to that summer camp, where I met Alina for the first time. That was pretty amazing. That was very broadening my horizons. That's how it felt. I think I was 18 back then. And that was quite amazing to meet all of these people. Everyone was so excited about what they were building. And then of course there were people on the stage sharing their ideas and how they grew their projects from zero to something very big. And I was really excited. So we applied with our project for the grant and we won it. So we had yet another year to realize that project. And that project was about multicultural collaboration and bringing foreigners to Russian schools so that people, like children in schools, can develop tolerance towards other nations. That obviously is very close to me. That was great. And later this project was recognized as the best realized, and we had another funding to run it further. And during that time at the university, I did a lot of things. But one thing I realized that it's important to start working early. And that's how I went to the company called Everyet. So I combined both work and studies, but realized how important it is just to have this practical hands-on experience. Then Everyet was bought at some point, and I went to work at a company called Target. That was a fantastic employer. I think I joined them back in 2016 as the first business development hire. And that was the place where I started to travel extensively all over the world. Mainly to the United Kingdom and the United States to sell our product. So since I had the degree in marketing, that product was also on the crossroad of marketing and technology, and that's how I actually got into technology. So we would just sell the product to optimize Facebook auction and later on Google auction, so that you can buy ads with a better bid, if you know what I mean. I will not go into the weeds with that. So we would sell this product, and my role was just to go beyond the borders in Russia. So that's why I traveled to other countries, and yeah, I was mind blown by the pace of development, first of all, in other countries, and I realized that I wanted to have this cultural, multinational experience and actually live and work abroad. So that's my journey in brief before moving to London. Of course, I'm more than happy to tell you more about that next part.
Yeah. No, because I remember we actually were, I think it was 2017 or something. We were in New York, and you were still like, you were coming back from Facebook conference, and I was like, oh, so cool. You have like a super global job. So I'm sure this kind of exposed you to international business and markets and marketing and so on. But how, like, what happened? Like, how did you get into Revolut? So what happened next, and how London appeared in your life?
Yeah, so that was fun. At the Target, we were growing, and our business development function also grew. So I was promoted to the head of business development role, and we needed to crystallize departments. So basically, we decided to focus on e-commerce, and the next segment, which was actually quite big but not that developed, was fintech. So to go to London more often to sign contracts with fintech companies. So we worked with banks, with brokers to help them to optimize their ad buying on Facebook. And one of the companies I really dreamed to work with was Revolut. And that's how I met it, basically. So Revolut back then just started to go through the roof. I think it was already quite big. I think around 300 people or so in headcount. Started making waves. Basically, it was already in the media. Obviously, in Russia, it's a huge thing. So I was very much excited to start working with them. And they're the first ones to try the 3D ads, where it's actually not a thing anymore. But Revolut, like what different Revolut from other advertisers, they always wanted to try new things. And we just would put the card and have a 3D graphic with it. So it was fun. And then I came to the offices of Revolut, the whole headquarters here in London. And needless to say, I fell in love. And kind of all of the dots came together in one place where I realized that this is the pace I want to develop my career at. This is the pace I want to live in. And I just need to apply. That's probably the next best thing for me to do. That's how I met Revolut.
Okay, so any tips and tricks? Okay, so let's first talk about your interview process and maybe what helped you to get through the interview process, and then like what was your role at Revolut, and we'll come to learnings.
Yeah, so we're talking 2018, and I had like my New Year resolution to move to London, and that just became clear that it would be with Revolut. So I started to figure out what the process is. So I think what is really important as like a tip that you can jot down is just to have someone to ask about their experience. Since Revolut had a lot of people from Russia, I found a few folks whom I knew to ask them about the experience and what to expect from Revolut and whether it goes together with my career plans. That was really helpful. So I talked to a few people and realized the interview process end to end, which I think had 4 stages in total. And I planned it ahead. So I knew that the home task most likely would be very sophisticated. So I need to plan it ahead. So I took like a ticket to Thailand to sit on the island myself. That was one of their islands, just with my laptop 24/7 for 7 days, just to nail the home task. That's how I planned it ahead. So I had the end date when I will finish the career process. And then I just did reverse engineering, just going step by step to that date. So that's really important, just to plan it ahead and be very serious about the application. That's at least my case. So first thing that happened was the screen call, where obviously before that you send your CV, and someone from the other side, it was the product owner whom we worked with eventually on the product. So he interviewed my skills, and just a very light touch interview. Nothing was difficult about it. And right after that, there was this home task. So I took that ticket headed over to Thailand and just spent all of my time swimming in the beautiful ocean, just doing the home task. That was fun, but I think that was a great experience to focus on things and to realize how important it is just to be dedicated and travel. It's a very useful skill, just to do your thing, regardless of anything. So the home task was trading task. Basically, Revolut at the time was considering introducing a trading feature, like trading products, so that you can buy and sell stocks. And I need to figure out the way to do it, basically the product and then the go-to-market and all of these things. I did pretty much nothing, did know nothing about that, basically. That's what I'm saying. So it was interesting to figure out, and that was a great exercise. Basically, my job was not connected to trading at all, but I think it's a good exercise just to develop your mind and show how you think about building something from scratch without having any knowledge in the industry. So the home task took me 7 days, and then there was an appointment in London. That was the next meeting. And of course I planned it ahead. So it also coincided with my trip to London, and I had it in person rather than a video call. I think by that moment I had never been scared that much. Because I heard a lot of stuff about the interview process. Basically a grilling session. I came. It took me 23 minutes. I counted every minute. I just felt it. It was amazing. But yeah, that was good and nothing difficult. Actually, I really loved the process. And after that interview, I knew that I passed to the next stage, which was the call with the founder, Nick Staronsky. And surprisingly, I wasn't really scared at all compared to that previous interview, because I think I heard a lot of stuff about that particular interview where it was, as I said, eventually kind of a different type of situation. So
was the interview a grilling session? Sorry to interrupt. Was it really like difficult?
Well, it wasn't really. I had this crazy thoughts about the interview process coming from Glassdoor and stuff. It wasn't. It was interesting and different from all the other interviews I had in my life back then, but it wasn't that bad at all.
Okay. Yeah, we'll come back to
just
that
to make
because
it clear, I was applying for the business development role at the product which didn't exist back then. It is now called Rewards. At that time it was Perks. So yeah, that's the context. Business development. So what's next? Oh yeah, maybe worth mentioning here that I wanted to exceed expectations during that interview, and apart from doing that home task and bringing it with me like a school kid, I also prepared for the role itself. So I deeply thought about the things that I would do if I joined, and I acted as if I had joined. So I just prepared the document with some calculations and like steps that I would take if I joined, and just prepared it and brought it with me. So all of that attention was towards that one. I think that's quite important. I heard it from someone back then that you should be just a purple cow, which means that you need to stand out compared to all the other candidates that are applying for the same job. So I think that was helpful overall. And then eventually a call with Nick, just a normal conversation, I think 30 minutes, and then I received the offer. And I remember standing in my flat in Moscow, being completely cold, realizing that my life would be so much different from that moment. And then they just relocated me, and it took them in total 1 month. And that was extremely fast to prepare all of the documents, to go through all sorts of things. And in January, I was already in London.
That's super cool. I actually want to highlight your experience with being prepared for the job and coming into an interview thinking about what would you do as if you're already in the job, because people always kind of overlook this moment, but I think it's like, vital, especially at jobs like this. So tell us about your role. So you joined, what was your role, and your learnings. What did you learn?
Yeah, for sure. So I joined the team in London. It's very hectic. You can imagine. So we are growing name already, but the product is not there. So we need to figure out what we should do. So my role was really to bring those businesses that would sponsor our rewards product, meaning they would just invest in the product, and our users would receive the best cashback and discount offers. To give you a concrete example, I signed Uber Eats and Amazon. So in this case, they would just give, let's say, 40% off whatever they have on their platforms, and we would just target users with a specific message saying like, hey, you have a discount with Uber, just redeem it now, and yeah, just use your Revolut card. So for Revolut, it's a user engagement tool, because Revolut was perceived as a travel card and not as a bank, and we just needed to shift that behavior from travel card and used only whilst you travel abroad to your main card in the wallet. So yeah, that was my goal. But back then, again, the perception was the travel card, and we needed to find those brands that would be ready to do that, because, well, why would they do it if the card is not there? So it was all about negotiations and bringing models that would make sense to these businesses. And the first thing, of course, we started with travel. So we signed the likes of Booking and other platforms like Amio, Trainline, and others. And then we started to expand. So yeah, obviously, we built a lot of case studies that would just convince other advertisers, partners to join and invest in the promotion. So yeah, that was my job in brief, but then we started to expand. Mm-hmm. What is interesting, obviously, we needed to hire at high speed. So one of the most valuable skills I think that I acquired is recruiting people. That's really helpful. Everyone was actually tasked with hiring people. So that was great. And then we started to expand, and that coincided with the pandemic. Crazy times. Also, still moving the perception from your travel card during the pandemic, like change your main card from, let's say, Barclays or HSBC to Revolut. That was fun. And then we started to expand from the UK. So we released it in the UK. And then to other markets. And obviously, you can imagine contracts were canceled, and we needed to renegotiate them and make sure that it's worth investing. So it was fun. So Revolut really helped to build this resilience in me, and just to go beyond the borders regardless and just push through. I think these are the best thing that I learned at Revolut.
Let's slowly move to the next one. I call it like star moment in your career. So you got Global Talent Visa. How did that happen, and where did it all start?
Yeah, so now we're talking August 2020, the beginning of the pandemic. So I think half a year in, I realized that we released the product. So it's now rolled out to 10 million users, 13 markets. And I'm very clear on what to do next and how to release it to the rest of the markets, and becomes a little bit more predictable than it used to be. And I really enjoyed the chaos that we had, which was like fun. And I needed to figure out the ways from 0 to 1. I understand how to move forward, but it's not of my interest. And I always had a dream to start my own company. So I started to think what I can do better and what would allow me to stay in the UK at the same time. So it became clear that my tier 2 visa, for those who don't know, the visa that keeps you very much tailored to your existing company, would not allow you to start your own startup. So I needed to figure out how I would actually stay in the UK. So I started to basically reach out to people who had some experience, like ambassadors who represented this global talent visa, and found a few folks who actually said, you could do it yourself. You don't need anyone else. You just need to pull together a study that would just explain how you just achieve something in your life, step by step. You need to have rock solid evidence. And that's pretty much it. You need to tell them about your dream, like where you're heading to, and you'll be fine. So that was quite strong for me to decide that I would be able to, but to be very transparent, I didn't believe that it would be possible up to the moment I received the visa, because when you open the Global Talent Visa website, or Technation, which is kind of the endorsement body for the talent visa for people in tech, they have a very high language, meaning that you feel like you should be Elon Musk at least, and then you might apply. But I didn't feel like at all, and still didn't feel the same way. But it was just the way probably to attract people who are ready to try and to push through. So I just decided to go for it. So the first thing that I actually learned from some other ambassador, and I keep saying it's really important to do this. I just jotted down all of the achievements that I had throughout my career and tried to pull them together in a very compelling story where I would just say like, okay, I graduated from the university cum laude and I started this project, which I mentioned, and then the evidence, and then something else, the evidence. So basically there is a story of myself in the personal statement, which has all of the evidences in between as attachments. So you would need to have 10 attachments proving that you're that talent that needs to receive this visa. So what was really important, just to make it very clear, to put all of the evidences in a table, to put the criteria that you're applying for and the evidence in front of it. So basically it allows you to map out criteria and evidences, and then you just have the case that you can just defend yourself. That's my advice here. Yeah, so I just told my story, the one that I just shared before, and then what we achieved together with Revolut, and then yeah, how we just scaled the product, and what I wanted to do next, which was LiveFlow. That's the place where it appears for the first time. So back then we just had an idea, not even a prototype or anything, just an idea. So we just calculated the market and said like, look, we know that a lot of businesses struggle with financial management, and that's the potential of the market, and that's how we want to solve it. And that's the recommendation letter from my partner, who just, and future co-founder, who just says pretty much the same and believes that he needs me to start the business. And yeah, that was the case. So we just started LiveFlow at the same time and applied for the visa, hoping that I would receive that. And yeah, that's the story. I received it in 2 months, I think, since the moment I started the whole thing.
And if I'm not mistaken, did you become ambassador as well?
Yeah. So yeah, I was so grateful. I couldn't believe that it happened. And I was like, how can I give back? And I figured out that there's this group of ambassadors within Tech Nation, so that you can just help other people to believe in themselves, basically, and just figure out their own case. It's not that I'm an official consultant or anything like that, but sometimes people reach out to me asking like, hey, I have this case, like, what do you think? I can share my personal take on that. Nothing more than that. And of course, I'm more than happy to answer the question, but pretty much questions are the same. So I just outline them in a doc, and I share this doc ahead of any calls, so that people can just read it themselves. So yeah, I really love to help Tech Nation, and I'm the ambassador. I just shouting off the rooftop saying that it's just amazing, and you need to apply, you need to do it. So just do it, just try, because if I was able to do it, then you can do it yourself.
Yeah, but that's super cool. Actually, I know a number of people who got Global Talent Visa, but you're one of, I would say, small amount who actually used it as, like, properly use it, because some people like keep staying in the companies, like keep staying, say they moved with tier 2
really?
and they still stay. So your example is actually like pure, I would say, global talent example, where person goes for, I don't know, starting a company, for example, and uses this visa to move from tier 2 to do something like on their own. So really impressive, and good job. And like, guys, if you're thinking about global talent, yeah, you know whom to write to. But yeah, this is super cool. I'm just like super impressed. And I'm also impressed by the switch, because it's like doing 2 things at a time, because some people like, like, okay, I'm going to apply for a visa and then I'm going to start a company. So you were doing everything together at the same, simultaneously. So moving to LiveFlow and LiveFlow story. So you said that you didn't really have like prototype yet, and then moving to Y Combinator. So that part of your life, how did that happen?
Yeah. So yeah, I applied for the visa. At the same time, brainstorm how we can actually work with the product. So we started to talk to those businesses that I had contact with here in the UK, just to take this in-depth interviews to understand the problems that they were facing. So the problem of cash flow management, or in other words, financial management, where you can just understand where you stand and whether you can afford something else next month, was very attractive to the businesses, and they just wanted to solve it. So initially we targeted small business owners, like coffee shop downstairs or something like that, who just don't have this visibility of their finances and think that this is something sacred, like they have no idea what's going on. We decided to talk to them, figured out that the problem was big enough. So we clearly felt the problem. And then we just decided to run a research on the US market because it's so big and you have like companies helping with that. So we used a company called Polefish just to figure out what it was about, like in terms of big numbers and whether people actually face that. And numbers said it was true. So businesses would rate this problem as one of the biggest ones. And it gave us the solid ground just to start building the prototype and apply to Y Combinator. So we signed a few businesses and had this prototype ready and decided, yeah, as I said, to apply to YC, submitted, and then we received the email back saying that, okay, let's talk. That was quite amazing, because then you feel like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? Because it takes only 10 minutes. And this is a grilling session in terms of not, of course, people being rude, but you are asked very precise questions, and you need to know your product in and out and how it will become a $1 billion company in one day. So yeah, that was interesting. Yeah, we had this call, basically 10 minutes, where they asked us all of these questions. So I think something that I have to share here is how to answer those questions. There's I will share it after the call. There's a link that in this program, the founder of Y Combinator, where you have questions that you're typically asked, and then you have only 10 seconds to reply. So it goes really fast. And we just needed to build this fluency and just give the answer based on the pyramid principle, which you might have heard about from Barbara Minto. So what it actually says is that you just give a very short answer first that just makes the answer close. And then, of course, if you want to elaborate, you elaborate on that. So basically, that's how your answer should look like. That was helpful. So we trained ourselves a lot. We did a few mock-up interviews with if you're a YC company, you're always a YC company, with YC alumni. Yeah, that helped. So we clearly knew what we would be asked and what we needed to reply. So that helped. And yeah, after that, we received the callback saying that we made it to the Winter 21 batch. Yeah, that's the process with YC.
Wow. So that's another breathtaking event. But when you applied, when you were writing your application, did you consult with anyone, or did you just do it global talent way? Just send it out, send it there.
Yeah. This time it was a little bit different. So we ran it through a few folks. Just needed to check whether it would make sense at all. But not many, I think. Yeah, we had someone who was our ex-Revolut colleague and also now co-founder of another YC startup. So this person helped us with just figuring out whether that would make sense. And that was pretty much it. Yeah.
And mock interviews. So you trained with someone to just answer.
Yeah. The same person. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, wow. Well, it's all like, it all looks smooth, but I'm sure it wasn't as smooth as you're telling the story. So how was the YC? And was it the first remote batch, or it was pandemic, right?
Yeah.
In the midst of the pandemic.
Yeah. So end of 2020, we leave Revolut and we start LiveFlow. And YC starts in January 2021. That's where we just start to basically, we just start running interviews with customers. That's probably the main thing that happened. We just talk to them daily, like multiple times a day. That's the first thing. You need to talk to customers. So that's something that we learned at YC, and we keep doing it on a daily basis now. Everyone on the team. So YC starts with a very inspiring kickoff meeting with the founders of Airbnb, Brian Chesky and the team, where they tell you their amazing, mind-blowing story where it wasn't really taken off for a long time, for 1 year, and they had to sell cereals just to start Airbnb properly. They didn't have any cash in the bank just to start it, and then they made it to YC, like completely being poor and then just believing in their idea. And then, yeah, we all know where it ended. So it's a huge company, IPO to, I guess, everyone who's watching this video at least tried or looked at Airbnbs. So it starts with that. It's very inspiring. So you feel like, okay, now I'm going to move mountains. What's next? Then you have the structure of YC where you have a batch with other co-founders. So I think altogether we had, if I'm not mistaken, like 350 companies within the entire Winter 21 batch. And then you have smaller batches where you have the like 3 partners with the main partner. Our partner was Dalton Caldwell. Plus we had Hodge and Nicola, who obviously worked together with Dalton. So it was like a batch of B2B SaaS products operating in different markets. Yes, fully remote, talking about the US market, obviously Europe and even some Asian markets. And we would just steer all of the ideas and just talk to each other. So of course it's a very organized and structured way. So you have your partners where they would just introduce some topics and you would discuss these topics with them. And they obviously share a lot of experience from previous batches and companies who were successful and unsuccessful, which is very important, all of the failures throughout their career. And it's really, really helpful. So partners, and then you have batchmates where you meet regularly on a bi-weekly basis with them. And you keep telling what happened to you over this time, what you achieved, where you failed, and how you can help your batchmates. So it's really helpful to be accountable to each other and just report on things. And of course, you have the star guests like YC companies. I mentioned Airbnb, then you have Stripe, then you have GitLab, Brex, and others. So you meet all of these folks in such an informal conversation like we have right now, and just talk. And it's just amazing to be connected with those people straight ahead and ask whatever you have on your mind. That really helps. So you prepare for that, but the main thing is the culmination, which happens for the winter batch at the end of May, which is called Demo Day, where essentially you have a goal. In our case, it was the monthly revenue goal, and you just move towards that goal. And then you present what you've achieved in terms of the product and MRR, and then eventually you pitch investors who are listening to you over Zoom, and then you just follow up with investors. So that's how YC works. Yeah, I think I answered that question.
Yeah, perfect. I feel like this interview is just like every second has so much value that I won't have to edit anything. This will be like a perfect one-shot video. So what if I, for example, if I was a wannabe YC founder, like I want to apply to Y Combinator, what are your tips? Like, what should I focus on?
First, customers. You need to understand them. Why they have this problem, why is it's a huge problem you need to solve, and why it has this huge potential. So it's really important that you understand it in and out. And then I'm moving to the next part. You and your team are the best people to solve this particular problem. So which insight have you acquired throughout your career so that you're well equipped to solve this problem? Why you? I think the third part of the equation is just to think about it from the perspective when it became a multi-billion-dollar company. So YC is still an investor, so they want you to exit at some point. That's why they invest, right? So how will you turn your small idea right now into a multi-billion-dollar company? How do you get there? It's really important to have this global thinking that we really acquired at Revolut. And just, yeah, as I said many times, just do reverse engineering from that in the future and back to now, like how you are going to get there. That's the mindset that you need to acquire and keep thinking about yourself and the companies as a big venture that is going to be.
Okay. And what are your key learnings from YC?
Yeah. So Probably the first thing is the thinking model or mental model. I think that's what Dalton practices a lot. I really love what he says and writes. Like if you find his Twitter, it's something special. It's like a treasure island. I just go and Google it. But basically, I think he shared the top 1% thinking, where basically you try to think first, like what would the average companies do whenever you have an issue or a task to deal with? Like how would the average behave? Like something that appears straight on the surface, and then try to get out of that zone and think about the 1% of companies. What would they do in that particular case? I know it's hard to think about it, but basically it really helps to adapt other things that are not seen from the first sight. So that's one of the models that we use regularly whenever we deal with the product, sales, hiring, etc. That's really important. What else? I mentioned being accountable. So it's really important to have a goal. So after YC, you feel a little bit in open ocean, like what's going on. Like before that, you had all of these partners, group, and then you have the demo day, you're just moving towards it at the breakneck speed. But what happens next? You're in the open ocean, you just need to do something. You just need to keep hitting targets. And it's really important just to have this MRR goal still, and just to be accountable, of course, to yourself, your team, and your investors once you raise your capital, and just send them updates and just be constantly in the loop, because it's really important just to keep the same pace as you used to have during YC. That's the next part. And I think, yeah, the last part of it is just to be formidable. So basically, it means that YC gives you just ginormous opportunities just to be connected with the best minds probably of the world of technology. Like anything you can imagine is just there. It feels like, at least. And you need to develop this mindset that you're not alone. And you should just stay strong with whatever happens. Don't just crumble, and just keep pushing through. I think it really helps in the toughest situations that the founder might face.
Yeah, I was about to ask whether it's worth to apply for YC, because some founders, depending on their stage, they still have some hesitations. But I think you covered it. That
well, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm probably very much in love with it. I cannot say anything bad at all. It's worth listening to other people as well, just to figure out their opinions and make your own. But mine is only positive.
Okay, so well, to the most important part, how's LiveFlow doing? How are you? Like, what's your anything? Tell us anything you want us to know about LiveFlow.
Yeah. So yeah, to make it clear, so we started to build this product, which is essentially a spreadsheet-based tool that allows you to pipe financial data on a cell level. Why is it important at all? Because, well, right now it's all manual. So as a business owner or as a finance professional, you just go to multiple data sources, such as accounting platforms, revenue platforms, and banks, and you just click the download CSV button, go back to your laptop, try to organize all of these files together.
I can confirm this is so painful. I hate it.
Get it all linked and make sense out of numbers, and you do it quite regularly. And you just triple check everything, and then you need to attach the file by email if you use Excel, or Google Sheets. Things got better. You just invite people to the sheet, but still, it's manual. So it's really important to automate the whole thing. So what we did, we just started to build this product, which is a spreadsheet that allows you to plug this data on a cell level and just organize your dashboard that is updated in real time. So you never do the manual job again. And that spreadsheet is actually very complex. So we decided to build something that would solve the problems of our customers right now, rather than waiting for the full release of the product. It's not really the YC approach. So basically, just to make it clear, YC's approach is just to keep shipping stuff and learn from your customers. So they're responsive. They want to give you feedback. You just need to learn from them constantly, and you can't really talk to them much if you don't release anything. So again, applying this thinking, like, what can we do just to ship faster? We learned that Google Sheets have these Google Sheets extensions, which allow you to build tools on top of Google Sheets, and just connect other platforms to them. So that was really helpful, which serves like really well the goal right now. And we built this plugin that connects the US accounting platform. To make it clear, we started to grow in the US because of YC mainly. The US accounting platform called QuickBooks into Google Sheets and streamlines this data in real time. And that worked. So we released that and we started to see this organic growth. But surprisingly, not among small and medium businesses, but rather among the audience of finance professionals, talking about independent accountants who manage multiple companies at the same time, CFOs, like fractional CFOs, and other folks. So basically, they help other businesses to build these financial models, and then they just provide their consultancy services on top of these numbers. So these are people who deal with it on a daily basis, and they feel very annoyed because they need to do it for each of the companies and triple check everything. So that was fantastic to see how it grows across the US, not only on the coasts, but also across Middle America and the states like Texas and Idaho and Michigan. So now I feel like I really know where the states are and what's going on in each of them. But yeah, it's really great that it's growing organically out there, and people just love the product and they share it across their social networks and stuff. So it's really great. And since then, yeah, we've been growing with the product across the US and then building more features to that particular plugin.
Wow. Okay. Again, it all sounds really smooth, but I'm sure there was a lot of work behind it.
Yeah, of course.
So, yeah, how do you actually feel about like growing your business in the US, being in the UK? What are the challenges, or maybe like how are you going about the growth? Maybe we should, maybe a couple of words about like this geographical kind of difference.
Yeah. So started to grow in the US, mentioned that it happened mainly because of YC, because the companies at YC started to use the product, and then the rest followed. But also the accounting platforms are different. So the one popular in the UK and Europe is Xero, and we don't have it yet. So we started with QuickBooks, and turned out it's a great use case, and the market is, as you can imagine, ginormous. We just decided to build it for the vertical use case so that our existing and future customers with the functionality that it has, and then we can move on to something next. So I think that really helps just to focus and deliver something that would make sense to the audience. They wouldn't churn, they would be completely happy, and it just grows separately, and then you just focus something else, etc., etc. So yeah, that just happened naturally. I don't have any particular reservations or anything about other markets. I just started with the US, and it just grows. Later on, obviously, the next idea here is just to release the integration with Xero with other banks, such as US, UK, and European banks, so people can plug them in and transactions happening in real time.
Cool. Okay, so let's talk a bit about the team and hiring. Like, are you hiring? Can people actually apply, and who are you looking for?
Yeah, so currently we have the team of 5. It's the team of co-founders. We have also Evan, who previously was a staff engineer at Web Summit. We recently hired Ahmed, who joined us from another B2B SaaS from the UK. Absolutely mind-blowing. So he joined us just recently and already delivered some good stuff for customers. We have Zin, who does growth with me, also quite an amazing hire. So it's a small team, but very resilient, as you can imagine. So we need to build fast, deliver happiness, and we are hiring more people. So our next hire is actually a recruitment leader, like recruitment/people leader, because we realized how important this function is within the company, and we just need to grow fast. As you can imagine, like the market is currently flooded with capital, and it's a pure, I think, candidates market where they have so many opportunities and they choose between the offers from Google, Facebook, Revolut, LiveFlow, and other companies, and it's really difficult to compete. So we need someone just to help us to grow the company as soon as possible, since we have a huge pipeline of feature requests. So that's our next hire. But then, of course, the priority once the talent professional is hired is engineers. So we need to hire at least 3 engineers, ideally full stack, to keep building the current app and add more integrations.
Okay, folks, you know, we'll leave a career page link in the description. So apply. It's a really cool company, and you just watched an interview with the co-founder. Actually, I completely missed an important milestone in your fundraising. So how was that? And
yeah, I also missed that.
Yeah, tell us a little bit, because people probably don't know about your Series A, your fundraise. So how did it go?
Yeah, actually, it was very good. As I mentioned briefly, the market it feels like flooded with capital, like something happening, and like I think now, and that was happening back in 2021. So the fundraising process was fairly straightforward. I think we managed to close the round within 2 weeks. That was fast and furious.
Wow.
We raised $3.5 million, which was a seed round led by Moonfire Ventures. That's a great VC firm based here in London, also with participation of Seedcamp, another great VC, very helpful here in London. And then we have a bunch of great angels, the ones from the UK and the US, like Bradley Horvis, the VP of products at Google. You might have heard about the person. So yeah, that's the round in brief. I think it's quite good for us, and it fuels our current growth, and yeah, gives us a quite solid runway. But the goal here is, of course, to keep growing at the current pace and to move to Series A.
Nice. Okay, so we'll start to finish here, like slowly move to an end. If you could give yourself an advice before starting a company, what would that be?
Yeah, something that keeps going through my head as a mantra is just to talk to customers, because that's the source of your knowledge. They just define your success, honestly. Like they pay you from their pockets, and it's really important to make them happy. So I think, yeah, these are the main people who just advise you on the journey. Not really, like, your journey is not defined by the amount you raised or something else. It's really important just to talk to your users and make sure that you really solve the real world problem rather than anything else.
Yeah, I can't agree more. Yeah, but well, that's almost it. But if you could give any, I don't know, recommendation to our audience, what would that be for people who want to be in a startup, go to Revolut, or work like in a like fast-paced companies? What would that be?
Well, that's a lot in one sentence.
Because I would say like you tick all the boxes, you know. I was thinking, okay, who do you want to interview next? Okay, Anita is like, she has experience everywhere, so I'm gonna speak to her.
Thanks so much. Well, I think there is one thing that's across is just to take risks. I think we all can be quite comfortable at where we are. But it's really important just to believe in yourself and just like, okay, whatever, I'll try. I don't know unless I try. So just to bet on something. There are things that don't work, and that's fine. It's better to fail fast and learn from these failures rather than just hypothesize and just think like, okay, might be I would just do something. Yeah, just try things and yeah, enjoy the process.
Okay, that's a great recommendation. I think we can stop here. Thank you so much. It was really, really like useful, powerful, empowering, inspiring, and so on. I can have like, I can't mention enough adjectives here. Thank you. And yeah, we'll leave all the links in the descriptions, and yeah, stay tuned for more interviews. Sure. Okay,
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Likewise. Bye.